How do you develop a strong style like William Faulkner? And today we are going to hear William Faulkner speak at length on how writers should develop their style. And my name is Ian, and here on Right Conscious, we cover everything related to William Faulkner. If you look at the playlist down below, you will find a library of videos that talk about Faulkner's writing advice, his books, and his life. But enough from me, everybody. Let us now hear from Faulkner. I did not develop my style. I think style is one of the tools of the craft. And I think anyone that spends too much of his time about his style, developing a style, or following a style, probably hasn't got much to say and knows it and is afraid of it. And so he writes a style, a marvelous trove. He becomes Walter Pater, which is beautiful, but there ain't too much in it. I think style is simply one of the tools of the craft, that the story you are telling commands its style, that one style is good for now and another style will be good for tomorrow. And like the good carpenter, one should be able to, well, you might say almost imitate, but the style is incidental, I think. And there we have it. We have Faulkner dropping bombs because this is a very hard thing for writers. Because if style is a priority, if style comes from within, then if you don't understand yourself, if you aren't willing to put yourself out in the world as you are in the deepest levels of your unconscious, then you will never have an authentic style. And this is a problem in 2024 because everybody is scared that there's an HR department behind their back. That's why they have pen names. Everyone's like, I have to have a pen name. People are going to care so much about my stuff and what I'm writing, and I'm going to get fired from my job or my family's going to disown me. And guys, you have to realize that no one even cares about books anymore. No one even cares about reading. And if you are at a job that cares about what you write, then you have a terrible job and you've screwed up and you are being a coward. And that is just an excuse. If we want to create a literary renaissance, if we were going to create 50,000 independent authors functioning at a high level, publishing in their small sub niche and speaking about it confidently, we can't have a pen name. We don't need pen names because we are not writing Bigfoot erotica on Kindle. We are not here just to make money. We have to put a name behind the statement. And that is the start of developing your style. Being confident in what you are saying. Being confident that what's in your unconscious is important and that other people out there who are behind you on the journey or just aren't artists want to get validation. That is actually one of the ways that literature can heal, is that it gives validation to other people's quirks and their problems. And people are like, damn, I'm really not alone. And the different aspects of your prose should mirror the different aspects of your personality. When I start growing kind of crazy like I'm doing now in my prose, when I start feeling like this when I'm writing, suddenly there's a lot of gerunds, there's no pronouns, there's verbal adjectives. It starts looking infernal. But then the other side of me that you guys don't see very often is contemplative, inward Ian, that spends hours a day out in nature. And my poetry reads a lot different. Or then there is shadow Ian, where I have all the weird modern male problems. And I say like crazy stuff in my books that and people are like, what? But none of that was developed. None of that was very conscious. It all came and manifested for me just practicing on the page. Eventually, if you write enough, you're going to see what you like. And if you have an objective and relaxed eye toward what is good and what is bad, and you've read a lot, you'll be able to see like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. Which is also important in developing a style and a personality. This is almost like bringing the most meta aspects of your personality to the table. And some of those things shouldn't come. I remember I took a creative writing workshop class. And we had to write this like 10,000 word short story, which is a lot for one of those workshop classes. And we spent a long time doing it. And I got this idea about this guy that was resentful, that really hated his girlfriend deep down. Because I have plenty of friends who like call me and they're on the verge of suicide. They're like, dude, I can't believe I married this girl. What am I going to do? I'm like, divorce her. They're like, I can't. So what is this, like some Japanese honor bind? So the only way out is to kill yourself? But then I started to think, when this started to happen a lot, like, wow, I've been in terrible relationships before. And what evil things would I have done, low key, that my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, would have never known about if I had the opportunity to do so again? And so then I wrote this whole kind of short story detailing all that. And this was just pulling from like the worst place of my soul, like what I was coming up with. And it wasn't like hurting her, but like, I can't even say. Because when I turned it in, the professor pulled me aside and he was like, hey, this was very well written. I can tell you spent a ton of time on it, but this is never going to get published anywhere. No one's really going to be able to relate to this. And looking back, unless I was trying to be an Andrew Tate or go full red pill with my channel, with my philosophy and target that audience, that really isn't a good style to bring to the table, a good part of my personality to bring to the table. And funny enough, guys like Andrew Tate and the red pill dudes, they don't read anyway. And so I've noticed what Faulkner has seen plenty of times. I know so many writers on Substack who write with this beautiful style and they have semicolons and commas in all the right places. And it sounds like almost like Victorian English, but it feels hollow. It feels empty. My eyes start glazing over after a couple paragraphs. There's also people who imitate way too much of other authors, and you could do that. Cormac McCarthy imitated William Faulkner, but he added his own spin to it. If you go read Cormac McCarthy's earlier works, his prose is much more aggressive than Faulkner ever was. He stole a lot of the ideas and kind of the moods and the feelings and the stories, but then took the prose to the next level, then eventually graduated away from Faulkner. And so my practical tips for developing style, and this imitates and mirrors a lot of what I say on this channel, is first and foremost, be confident in yourself and your personality. Second, start developing those aspects out in the world and start limiting choices and jobs, relationships, things that limit the best aspects of your personality. And this is funny. This is like a personal development seminar, but this is, if you look at a lot of writers, why were they getting divorces? Why were they out traveling and living their life and being actual extroverted individuals a lot of the time? It's funny that there are only a couple of Muse sad boy writers in history. Even people like Kafka were swimming a mile in lakes in the summer and working normal jobs. I would say that 99% of the writers behind me were very social, were out in the world, and had a ton of life experiences, and weren't this kind of introverted image that we have of writers now. They developed those parts of their personality. Number 3, spend a ton of time writing, just practicing, doing short stories. And this is a good time to talk about my free writing school, which is launching October 14th, everybody. On October 14th, I'm going to launch a school, which is down in the link below if you want to join the waiting list, that is going to have daily writing challenges, weekly writing challenges, writing contests, a bunch of content on how to help you, a whole community to help you, all for free. My goal is to create the best free writing community on YouTube or just around. And if you follow through with the challenges, if you do those over the course of time, and these aren't like prompt challenges, these are do what you want challenges, but just hit the quota. If you do those, you will get the practice that you need to get better, but then also build a library that you need of your work to build an audience. And I'm going to teach you how to do all of that for free over on my school. But if you're interested in Faulkner and don't care about writing, down below for free also, I've put a link to my William Faulkner guide where I rank his novels. I list his 35 verified literary influences. And I tell you what order you should read William Faulkner if you are just coming to his work and you are a beginner reader or an experienced reader. And so step number 3 is to start writing more, start getting that practice in. Step number 4 is start to realize with an objective eye, start to really distance yourself from your own writing when you are revising and start to say, what aspects of my personality should I not bring to the table and which ones should I magnify? Because a lot of writing is actual filler and it has nothing necessarily to do with your style. It just has to do with a means to an end. Getting from this point or this scene to the other scene. And style isn't necessarily that big of a part. But in those pivotal scenes, in those moments when you are writing, when you are cooking, you should be bringing the best tools of the trade, your best stuff to the table, especially at the start of your career. Because as an unknown, you have to make people interested. You have to show them one of the deeper aspects of your personality so that they get verification that you know what you are talking about. Because if you don't, people are going to be suspicious of you. People are going to just view you as another hack or random person who is just trying to be a writer. If you put your chips on the table, then they will also. They will take one step toward the reader. They will take 10 steps toward you. And that isn't built through manufacturing something. That's built through emotion and the transformation of yourself by releasing what's within. And then obviously step number 5 is to find a longer project. Find something that aligns with your best work. Wait for that idea, because there's a million ideas, you guys. It's not hard to find a novel idea. Everyone always tells me, I got a novel idea, I'm working on this. And it's like, dude, that's so easy. A random illiterate could think of a novel idea. That sounds fun. But to find an idea that actually aligns with you, and this is like David Lynch style, means that you're going to have to go fish for the big fish. You may need to get some small fish and use them for bait so that you can catch that big fish. And the big fish is something that doesn't just call to you intuitively and spiritually, but also aligns with your best personality and stylistic qualities. And so that you can push through, the 100,000 plus words or the 75 poems or whatever that it takes to complete a book. Because once again, a movie is a passive consumption project that is fueled by tens of millions, if not more, of money. It's meant to be entertaining and you can watch it pretty passively. A book is a solo project a lot of the time that maybe has an editor and a book cover maker or whatever, but you're committing to 5+ hours of reading, which requires a drain of energy. It's not a passive experience. And so to ask someone to sit down and read your book if you are an unverified author means that you have to bring your best shit to the table from the start. And that's why a pen name is suspicious. If you want to have a pen name, go write some weird political nonfiction stuff. But if you want to get in the game, if you want to be a part of the literary renaissance, you're going to have to drop it. It's better to see that there's a human behind it, that there is someone that's real. And so then when you start working on this longer project, you also out in the world, think about developing that style. It's funny, these personalities, these internal worlds can also be developed out on a day-to-day basis. I mean, this is something that changed my life, is that you're like, dude, well, I go to work and it's just a soul-draining job, and it probably is. It sucks. But while you are there, you could focus on certain things to bring to the table, certain things that also reflect in your writing. You're almost practicing and cultivating, tending to the hearth with those styles. It's actually a really cool thing to do. And then the stuff that you were reading, you could spend some time on your lunch break or something, or when you can sneak it at work, read a couple pages of a book that inspires that style within you. Just be cultivating it all the time. And so then when you come back to the page every day, you are aligned with that style. You are aligned and understand that aspect of your personality. And now we're going to move into kind of more woo land here. This is like woo. You can also dialogue with different aspects of yourself and your differing personalities, because most people don't realize, and this is personal development 101, and I would say writing 101. This is why a lot of writers and people are like kind of schizos and psychotics, is that most people in the world, unfortunately, have not spent very much time developing themselves. And so they only have one self. They only have this kind of ego identity. But if you spend a ton of time on personal development, and if you've experienced any form of trauma in your life, then you actually have fragmented selves. You have multiple selves. And it's an interesting thing to note of how do those different selves interact with each other. And I've spent a lot of time journaling how the kind of mystical Ian interacts with the crazy schizo Ian that yells on YouTube lives. And when you understand that objectively, because a lot of us think that we can do everything in our mind, and it's one of the biggest fucking jokes of writing and in personal development, that it can happen all in your mind. It can't. That's like some old school shit. With the complexity of the world, a lot of the time you either have to journal or dialogue out loud. I don't do this as much as I used to, but you can have conversations with the other selves. Yeah, here we go. Like I said, we're going woo, and to further integrate them, to further understand who they are and how they exist within you. Because if you don't understand, then they are just running rampant, and they do exist. You know it because you've made crazy decisions. You've sometimes unleashed this different self, for better or for worse, that's different than the kind of consensual self that you put up in the world. And so if speaking out loud sounds crazy, I would say, first of all, you have to identify the different selves, the different parts of your personality, the different styles that are important. And I would say that most people have, 4 to 7. Like, for instance, 2 of mine are the mystic and the creator. Like, I like to do daily content. I always like to be creating things. Like, it's all I'm about, like just making something happen. But those personalities are the best parts of my writing, among the other ones, because I do write very mystical things. Hopefully with my poetry, some of it feels mystical. But then on the creator side, I also like to embody kind of the Robinson Jeffers primordial voice that comes from that kind of creation energy at the axiomatic level. And so when those two can interact in a poem or even in my life, I mean, it's endless. The potential is beautiful. But then how does the mystic interact with the lover archetype that I feel very connected to. And I'm not going to go into this here. These are things to think about. These are things that you can think about or journal about while you are at work or you have low energy. The deeper you understand yourself, the deeper that you are transforming yourself, the better your writing is going to be, everybody. Like I said, a lot of people in the old days didn't have to do this, but the bar gets higher every single generation. And it's been multiple generations since Faulkner. And in this generation, with the complexity of the world and with the complexity of our emotions that are triggered by social media and all this other stuff, and the history of information that we have access to, if you can't tap in and understand, then you're just a floating mess. And so thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all the support. Have a great week. It is Monday, the TGIM. Thank God it's Monday. Best day of the week. If you are waiting for Friday, then you are a joke, because this is the life that you have chosen. And if you don't like it, then you better change it, because then you will be happy and energized like I am every single Monday. Let's go.